Have you ever been asked a question that felt more like an interrogation than a conversation? As we grow older, seemingly harmless questions can turn into tools for judgment, manipulation, and making us feel less worthy. But the truth is, you don't owe anyone an answer. Some things are meant to be kept to yourself. Not because you're afraid, but because you deserve personal space, peace, and the right to remain silent. Today's video will share 7 questions you should not answer as you get older. Not because you're not strong enough, but because you're wise enough to know what's worth your time and energy. Learning to hold your boundaries, protect your dignity, and live life your own way. That's the greatest gift you can give yourself. If you find this content helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss future videos. And if you'd like me to create more content like this, comment on, if not comment 0, so I know what I need to improve. Now, let's get started. The first question you should never feel obligated to answer is, how much money do you have? At first glance, it might seem like a simple question sometimes asked in a friendly or seemingly harmless way. But don't be fooled by its simplicity. The moment you reveal that number, whether modest or impressive, you give the other person a kind of power you may not have anticipated. People rarely ask about your finances just for fun. Behind that question often lie unclear motives to judge you, compare your life to theirs, or worse, to find a way to benefit from you. Once others know you have assets, whether a little or a lot, the way they see you changes. Suddenly, you're no longer a friend, a relative, or an acquaintance. You become a walking bank in their eyes. And from there, the requests begin subtle at first, then increasingly bold. You lend them money once and they call it help. But by the second or third time, it becomes a habit, an unspoken expectation. They no longer see you as someone who worked hard to get to where you are, but as a resource to be tapped. And if you say no, their disappointment becomes obvious. Some will turn their backs on you. Others will talk behind your back, accusing you of being selfish or ungrateful. Even if you say you're not well off, that you're saving for your old age, they'll pretend to sympathize. But behind that sympathy lies pity and judgment. They start putting you in a box, a failure, an old person who can't manage their life. On the other hand, if you say you're financially stable, envy may arise. Your success becomes a mirror, reflecting what they haven't achieved. And that makes them uncomfortable, not because you have more, but because they feel they have less. You see, no matter how you answer, you can't win that conversation. That's why your finances should remain private. Not because you're hiding something, but because you're protecting yourself. Protecting yourself from unnecessary judgment, from greed masked as kinship, and from relationships based on material conditions. You've worked your whole life. You've sacrificed pleasures, traded time and health to save, invest, and build a stable life. The money you have isn't random luck. It's the result of smart choices, sleepless nights, cold early mornings, and moments of denying yourself what you wanted to prepare for a secure future. No one, not even family, has the right to treat that as communal property or believe they are entitled to share in what you've worked so hard to build. So when someone asks how much money you have, don't feel compelled to answer. You don't have to lie, but you also don't have to tell the truth. A gentle smile, a skillful change of topic, or simply silence sometimes. Those are the strongest responses. Privacy isn't secrecy, it's a boundary. And in a world full of noise and demands, boundaries are what help you hold on to your peace. Your finances are personal. They're not a topic for family gatherings, not a subject for comparison, and certainly not a tool for anyone to manipulate you. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for choosing to keep sacred the most important thing, your independence. The second question you should never feel obligated to answer is, who will you leave your money to? It may sound casual, but in reality, it's one of the most intrusive and calculated questions that older people often face. Sadly, this question rarely comes from pure love or genuine concern. It usually carries an unspoken message. I want to know what I'll get from you once you're gone. When someone asks you that, pause and ask yourself, why do they need to know? Are they truly concerned about your future, or are they checking their place in your will? The truth is, many people start behaving better, not because they love you more, but because they hope you'll leave them something valuable. They bring small gifts, say sweet words, and show surface-level care, but deep down, it's a strategy. Not compassion, that's not affection, it's a conditional investment. And when they realize there's no return, the concern vanishes, as if it never existed. They may withdraw, change their attitude, or even criticize you for being cold or ungrateful simply because you didn't leave them what they expected. But you owe no one that. What you leave behind after your life should reflect your values, trust, and genuine affection, not be a reward for those who performed best. A will is a deeply personal expression of your honor and dignity. It's not a list for others to guess, negotiate, or try to earn a place in. Remember, a legacy isn't just about money, it's the final message you leave to the world. And that should be decided by your heart, your principles, not by social pressure or emotional manipulation. If you want to leave your assets to a charity, an old friend, or simply keep it private until the very end, that is your right. You don't need anyone's permission. When someone asks, "Who will you leave your money to?" don't feel you have to answer. You can smile, change the subject, or simply remain silent. Your silence isn't disrespect. It's how you maintain control over what belongs to you. Because once they know too much, they will try to influence you, whether consciously or not. Your assets are the result of a lifetime of hard work, sacrifice, and courageous choices. They are not for others to dictate or discuss. And you have no obligation to reassure anyone about your plans. Keeping things private doesn't mean you don't love it. Means you love wisely, firmly, and won't let your kindness be exploited. The third question you don't need to answer is, why don't your children visit you often? It may sound like a harmless question, a polite remark, or a sign of genuine concern. But for someone who was once the backbone of a family, who sacrificed their youth to raise children, that question can feel like a silent wound. It's not just a search for information, it's an indirect way of saying, you must have done something wrong. No one says it outright, but the looks, the tone, and even the silence that follows that question can make you feel judged. It stirs up guilt and loneliness, making you wonder, did I fail as a parent? Am I a burden? My children want to avoid, but stop right there, because you don't owe anyone an explanation for the private relationships within your family. Outsiders haven't lived your life, haven't endured the sacrifices, the hidden pains, or the countless efforts to hold together what you cherished most. They only see the surface that your children don't visit, and they rush to conclusions. They don't realize that sometimes distance isn't a sign of coldness, but the result of complex circumstances, unhealed misunderstandings, or simply diverging lifestyles. Modern life can consume all of the younger generation's time and energy. Careers, their own, children, financial pressures, geographic distance. All of these can make visiting home feel like a luxury. But sometimes the absence comes from a more painful place, a deliberate withdrawal. Perhaps your child has chosen not to return, and that hurts. It doesn't just make you sad. It can make you feel abandoned while you're still alive. Still, love cannot be forced. You cannot make someone care if they're not willing, and you certainly don't need to explain it to others. Because what happens inside a family, especially the things never spoken aloud, shouldn't be the subject of others' gossip or judgment. So if someone asks why your children don't visit you, have every right to smile, nod, and say, they're busy, but I'm doing fine, and leave it at that. No explanations, no justifications. Your silence isn't avoidance. It's how you protect your privacy, your dignity, and your heart from unwelcome commentary. Family is sacred, but so are you. Whether love comes from your children or not, it doesn't define your worth. You deserve respect, not because your children visit, but because of who you are. You have loved, nurtured, and sacrificed, and that whether others acknowledge it or not is noble. Live the rest of your life with the peace you deserve. Don't let a thoughtless question take that away from you. The fourth question, how old are you, may sound light-hearted, just a casual inquiry in a conversation. But if you've ever felt your heart sink after answering, perhaps you sensed something deeper. In many societies, age isn't just a number, it's an invisible mold that others use to define you, judge you, and sometimes exclude you. When someone asks your age, what they're truly seeking might not be a number, but an excuse to put you in a box of assumptions too young to be trusted, too old to be heard. That's the sad truth of the modern world. A place where human worth is sometimes measured by shallow standards, where life experience can be overlooked just because of silver hair or skin no longer smooth. I believe every person carries within them a treasure trove, untold stories, lessons no book can teach, and a depth that only time can nurture. Yet this society, with its frantic pace and worship of youth, often forgets that. And so what seems like a harmless question becomes a tool for judgment, a way to dismiss someone's value without ever hearing what they have to share. Worse still, when you are boxed in by age, you might start to doubt yourself that your best years are behind you, that you should step aside, stay quiet. It's a subtle trap of prejudice. But you are not a number. Your age doesn't reflect how deeply you've lived, how sincerely you've loved, or how much you've learned from your struggles. You are the sum of all you've overcome, every time you've risen after falling, and every dream still quietly burning in your heart. Remember, the power doesn't belong to the one who asks your age. It belongs to you. You have the right to keep that number to yourself. You have the right to walk into a room and be heard for what you bring, not for how old you are, and you have the right to define yourself not by outward youth, but by the vitality and wisdom you've cultivated throughout your journey. Hold your head high and don't let anyone reduce you to a meaningless number. Live, love, learn, and share, no matter your age, for that is the most beautiful way to affirm your worth. Age is only one part of your story, but it is never the final chapter. The fifth question. Are you seeing anyone on the surface? It may seem harmless, just a gentle inquiry in casual conversation. But if you've ever been on the receiving end of it, you'll know that beneath its simplicity lies a web of assumptions, expectations, and seemingly innocent scrutiny that can cut surprisingly deep. If you answer yes, there will always be someone ready to say, shouldn't you be focusing on yourself or your family instead of starting a new relationship? They question your choices, as if your heart no longer has the right to feel, as if you're doing something wrong simply for daring to open it again. But if you say no, pity quietly settles into their eyes. Oh, you must be so lonely, right? That seemingly sympathetic remark subtly dismisses the value of your independence and freedom, making you feel as if you're missing something when in reality you aren't missing anything at all. We live in a world where deeply personal choices, whether to love or not, to be alone or with someone, are frequently examined under the harsh light of public opinion. But the important truth that many forget is this: happiness doesn't follow a single mold. No one has the right to tell you when to love, whom to love, or even whether you should love again. They don't know how many times your heart has had to heal, how many nights you faced the darkness alone, learning to grow stronger in solitude. And because of that, they have no right to judge the way you choose to love again or choose not to. You don't need to live up to anyone else's expectations to be considered whole. If you are in love, that's wonderful. Cherish it as the gift it is. If you are single and feel at peace, that is just as worthy of pride, for not everyone has the courage to live true to their feelings despite the murmurs of others. Your relationship status does not define who you are, and it certainly isn't something you owe anyone an explanation for. It is a sacred part of your life, something you have the full right to choose to keep private and to protect. In the end, remember that peace doesn't come from pleasing others, but from living honestly with yourself. Whether you choose to walk beside someone or walk alone, the only thing that matters is that your heart feels right, feels full. Never let someone's gaze or words make you question your worth. This life is yours, and you deserve to live it in the way that brings you the most joy. The sixth question, why don't you help out more, may sound like a gentle reminder, but it actually carries a subtle bias that many people fail to recognize, that once you reach retirement, your time no longer belongs to you. There's an unspoken assumption that because you no longer work full-time, you must be constantly available to babysit, to cook, to run errands, to show up whenever someone needs you, as if your existence now is meant solely to serve others. They don't see the long road you've already traveled, the years of raising children, the days of tireless work, the dreams you postponed, the quiet sacrifices you never spoke of. They forget that you've already done more than enough. They forget that you are still a person with desires, needs, and the right to live for yourself without needing permission. You've spent your life caring for others. Now you owe no one anything more. If you choose to help, that's wonderful. But if today you want to read a book, take a walk in the sun, or simply sit in a quiet room, that too is entirely valid. No one has the right to make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. We live in a society that often confuses dedication with obligation, love with limitless sacrifice, but you no longer have to carry the weight of proving anything. It's time to slow down, to savor the little yet profound things: a morning coffee, the birds singing outside your window, or an honest conversation with an old friend. Saying no is not a rejection of your loved ones. It's a declaration of your self-worth. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. You are simply reminding yourself that you matter too, that your emotions, your energy, and your personal dreams are worthy of respect. Don't let anyone convince you that aging means continued sacrifice. Growing older is a season in which you deserve to be cherished by yourself, to live in ways that make you smile each morning and rest easy each night. You've already given so much now. Give yourself what you've long postponed: peace, freedom, and joy, without justification, because the time you have left is a precious gift and you fully deserve to live every moment of it on your own terms. The seventh question, what's the worst thing you've ever done, might sound like a harmless prompt for conversation, but in truth, it's a subtle trap disguised as curiosity. It's not a question meant to understand. It's meant to scrutinize, to dig up the past, to expose wounds you've worked hard to heal. It puts you on trial before people who've never lived your pain yet feel entitled to judge it. When someone asks that question, they rarely do so out of compassion. They ask to judge, to remember, to have a story to tell when you're not around, and sometimes to chip away at the strength you fought so hard to rebuild. But the truth is this: the past no longer holds power over you. You've walked through it, learned from it, and that is enough. No one, not family, not friends, not strangers, has the right to drag you back into your most painful moments unless you choose to go there. And if you don't want to, you don't have to explain. A gentle smile, a calm gaze, and a quiet response. I have many stories, but some things are best left in the past is more than enough to draw your boundary. That boundary is your protection. It's the strong voice of someone who's lived through too much to be pulled backward by the curiosity of those who don't truly care. At this stage in life, you owe no one an explanation. Growing older is not a journey of confession. It's a journey of freedom. It's the moment when you're wise enough to decide who is worthy of your time, your stories, and the precious energy you have left. Silence is no longer retreat. It's a form of strength. The strength of someone who knows their worth doesn't come from what others think, but from how they feel when they look themselves in the mirror. You don't need to share everything to be understood. Those who truly care will never need your full history to love you in the present, and those who seek out your flaws to satisfy their own curiosity. Your silence is the clearest answer you can give. Let them sit with that silence and understand that they have no access to the most sacred parts of you, the parts you've protected, learned to love, and will never allow to be hurt again. Your life is the most valuable possession you own. No one has the right to intrude upon it with disguised questions, careless comments, or unkind assumptions. Hold on to your right to choose, the right to remain silent, the right to keep things private, and the right to live a life that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. Believe me, those who truly value you will never demand answers for what you've chosen to leave behind. And those who do, they never deserved your story in the first place. Finally, after all the seemingly harmless questions filled with hidden prejudice, expectations, and judgment, the most important thing to remember is this: you owe no one an explanation for how you choose to live your life. You've weathered ups and downs, overcome countless challenges, and you, more than anyone else, know the worth of those years. Don't let numbers, casual inquiries, or scrutinizing glances define who you are. You are not a number, not a tragic story, not a past mistake. You are the sum of resilience, love, life experience, and strength forged over time. And if anyone needs to change their perspective, it's not you, it's the world around you. If what I've shared resonates with you, if you see yourself in these words, if you've ever felt judged, forgotten, or underestimated, then I invite you to join me. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue these honest, heartfelt conversations together. This is a space for those who refuse to be reduced to stereotypes. A space where you will be heard, understood, and celebrated for who you truly are, because you deserve that. And I'll be here every week to remind you, you are still worthy, still shining in your own unique, deeply admirable way.